There comes a moment in life where someone you respect, admire, maybe even love, suddenly goes silent. They stop replying, stop noticing, stop caring. And there you are, stuck in that awful gray space, wondering, what did I do wrong? Let me tell you something real. Being ignored, it hurts deep. But that moment right there is not a punishment, it's a test. You see, most people react, they chase, they question. Why are they acting like this? What can I do to make them see me again? Wrong question. The real question is, why am I giving so much power to someone who can't even send a simple reply? When someone ignores you, they are teaching you something without saying a word. They're showing you who they are. And more importantly, they're giving you the chance to show who you are. Do you become desperate? Do you shrink into self-doubt? Or do you rise? Here's what you do. First, you pause. Don't chase, don't react, don't text 3 times in a row. Let the silence sit, because silence reveals the truth. Second, you refocus. While they're busy pretending you don't exist, you start building something so powerful they can't ignore it. Work on your goals, your body, your business, your dreams. Level up so hard that your presence becomes undeniable. They may have ignored you yesterday, but they'll regret it tomorrow. And third, this is the killer move, you let go with grace, not bitterness, not hate, not revenge, but power. Because when you stop fighting to be seen, you start becoming someone who lights up any room they enter. Don't ask to be noticed. Become so real, so focused, so brilliant that they can't look away. Not out of guilt, not out of curiosity, but because your growth is louder than their silence. So next time someone ignores you, don't just sit there feeling invisible. Smile, because they just gave you the perfect reason to become unstoppable. When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel like you're not enough, like you said something wrong, like you did something to deserve the silence. That sudden drop in connection can make even the strongest people question their value. But here's what most people don't realize. In that painful moment, when someone ignores you, it's not necessarily about your worth. It's not always about who you are. In fact, more often than not, it's about what they are struggling with, what they are avoiding, or what they are incapable of expressing. Yet still, the silence feels personal. And that's where the shift in mindset needs to begin. Being ignored is like standing in a room where you're screaming for attention and no one looks up. It's one of the loneliest feelings, but it's also one of the most revealing, because in that space where the usual validation is gone, where your ego feels bruised and your confidence starts to shake, you come face to face with a version of yourself that is raw and unfiltered. That version of you isn't dressed up for approval, that version isn't performing, it's real. And that's where your power starts. The key is to stop internalizing someone else's silence. We are trained to think that every reaction from another person is a direct mirror of US, but it's not. People have their own insecurities, their own traumas, their own chaos. Sometimes people ignore you not because they don't value you, but because they don't know how to handle your presence, or your growth, or your truth. And sometimes people ignore you simply because they never valued you in the first place, and that too is a blessing in disguise. Because it frees you from trying to impress someone who was never really invested in you. But let's be honest, it still hurts, especially when the one ignoring you is someone you deeply care about. The mind starts spinning stories. Maybe I'm not interesting enough, maybe I'm too much, maybe if I change they'll come back. That's where most people go wrong. They start bending, shrinking, editing themselves just to be noticed again. But here's the truth you need to hold on to with everything you've got. Your worth is not based on someone else's attention span. You are not a trending topic, you are not a temporary mood, you are not background noise, you are a whole world, a full story, a living force of potential. And if someone can't see that if someone chooses to turn their back on it, that's their limitation, not yours. And in that realization, there's power, immense power. Because when someone ignores you, they are giving you a moment to reclaim your self-worth, to stop seeking permission to be yourself. They are giving you a sacred space to ask, what am I really made of when no one's clapping? That's a brutal but beautiful test, because anyone can feel worthy when they're being praised. But true strength comes when you're alone and still walking tall. Silence is uncomfortable, but it's also honest. It tells you who is truly there for you. It tells you who only showed up when you were easy to love. And most importantly, it tells you who you are when the noise is gone. Do you break down or do you build? Do you seek revenge or do you rise with grace? That moment of being ignored becomes the starting point of something deeper, self-respect. So instead of spiraling into insecurity, take that silence and flip it. Let it be a challenge. Let it be the push you needed to finally look inward and ask yourself, what do I want to become without anyone's approval? That's where growth begins. That's where character is shaped. Not in the applause, but in the quiet. Not when they see you, but when they don't. That's where you learn to see yourself. Because the truth is, not being seen by them might just be what you needed to finally see yourself. The silence someone gives you can feel like a wall closing in, cold and unmovable. It can make you feel small, invisible and powerless. But here's the truth that most people overlook in that moment. Silence isn't just a void, it's a message. And what you do in response becomes your declaration. You can either let their silence be your prison, locking you in self-doubt, or you can turn it into your platform, launching you into a version of yourself that no one can ignore. That choice, it's always yours. When someone stops talking to you, stops acknowledging you, or pretends you don't exist, it's natural to want to fill that silence. You feel the urge to explain yourself, to ask why, to get closure. You want to scream, why are you doing this to me? But here's the harsh reality, sometimes they won't answer. Sometimes they don't care to. And sometimes they're simply not capable of giving you what you seek. That's where your real test begins, not in how they treat you, but in how you choose to respond. You could sit and wait, you could check your phone 100 times, you could rehearse what you'd say if they finally gave you the attention you crave. Or you could realize that the silence isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's a chance to listen to your own voice, one that's been buried under all the noise and need for validation. Their silence doesn't have to weaken you, it can wake you up. It can show you the parts of yourself that have been too quiet for too long. Most people underestimate the power of not reacting. Because the minute you stop chasing, you start building. The moment you stop asking for answers from someone who's already gone silent, you make space for a new story to begin on that's not about being ignored, but about becoming undeniable. There's something magnetic about someone who doesn't flinch in the face of silence. Someone who doesn't crumble just because they're not being clapped for. Someone who stands tall even when no one's watching. When you feel ignored, the question isn't, how do I get their attention back? The question is, what do I want to build now that I'm no longer stuck waiting for them? Because their silence gave you time. Their absence gave you space, and that space is sacred. You can fill it with growth or you can fill it with bitterness. But if you choose to grow, you look back one day and realize their silence was the best thing they ever gave you. The ones who ignore you today might be the same ones clapping for you tomorrow when you finally stop seeking their applause. It's not revenge, it's evolution. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you never needed them to begin with. That your voice, your talent, your presence was powerful all along. They just weren't ready for it. But now, you are. There is a strange kind of fuel hidden in being overlooked. When no one expects anything from you, you are free to become anything. There are no eyes watching, no hands pulling you back, no opinions weighing you down, just silence. And that silence can become your studio, your training ground, your war cry. Let your pain become your paint. Let your loneliness become your lesson. Let the quiet become the fire that builds your comeback. They ignored you, so what? Let your next move be so loud, so unexpected, so full of purpose that it drowns out everything they didn't say. Let your actions scream what their words never could. Let your consistency, your passion, your success make the kind of noise that even their silence can't hide from. This is not about ego, it's about energy. Your energy, redirected, reclaimed, refocused. Don't waste it trying to be seen by people who are committed to looking away. Use it to build something so powerful that the world has no choice but to see you, not because you shouted, but because you shined. So the next time someone ignores you, don't beg, don't chase and don't break, just pause. Then push forward with everything you got. Because the silence they gave you was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of a new chapter written by someone who finally decided to stop whispering and start roaring. There's something deeply painful about being overlooked. To give someone your attention, your time, your care, and in return, receive nothing. No acknowledgement, no response, just indifference. And in that moment, most people feel a powerful urge to chase, to win them back, to fix whatever went wrong. Here's the truth most don't hear often enough. Instead of begging for attention, become someone impossible to overlook. Because true power lies not in being noticed, but in becoming so undeniable that being ignored becomes impossible. You don't earn respect by demanding it. You don't become unforgettable by shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's frame. If someone can't see your value now, don't lower yourself to convince them. Level yourself up so far that even their silence sounds like admiration. Because the people who matter, the ones who really see, don't need to be chased. They recognize greatness even when it's quiet. And they'll never ask you to dim your light just to stay in their line of sight. There's a dangerous lie that says you have to be louder, flashier, more dramatic to be noticed. That if you're being ignored, you need to work harder for approval. But that mindset traps you in a cycle of desperation. The more you try to prove yourself to someone who doesn't care, the more power you give away. The more you bend for their attention, the more you break your own spirit. But imagine this, instead of changing yourself to earn their glance, you change yourself to unlock your own potential. You turn inward and say, I don't need your attention, I need my evolution. And that's the shift that transforms lives. When your focus turns from being seen to becoming excellent, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your posture shifts, your life shifts. Excellence is never ignored for long. Real growth, quiet, consistent, unstoppable growth catches fire eventually. Not because you begged for it, because greatness can't stay hidden forever. The most powerful people in the world weren't chasing crowds. They were building, creating, becoming. And eventually, the world turned its head, not because they demanded it, but because they had become too real to look away from. Let their silence challenge you to become so focused on your mission that you don't even notice their absence anymore. Let every ignored message, every unanswered call, every cold shoulder be a spark, fuel, motivation. Prove that you're not done becoming who you were meant to be. You don't need everyone to see you right now, you just need to see yourself clearly enough to keep going without applause. You've seen it before. The person who's overlooked, mocked, doubted, until one day they're everywhere. their work, their name, their presence. It's suddenly undeniable. That didn't happen because they cried for attention. It happened because they poured their energy into becoming excellent. They mastered their craft, they sharpened their vision. They became so real, so clear, so valuable that silence turned into recognition and then into respect. You're capable of the same. But it starts with letting go of the need to be noticed. It starts with the decision to stop performing and start becoming, not for them, not for revenge, but for yourself. Because you are more than how others treat you. You are more than who chooses to acknowledge your presence. You are a story still being written. And one day, that story will be too powerful to be ignored. It doesn't happen overnight, but each step forward, each day you choose discipline over desperation. Each moment you choose purpose over approval, you get closer. Closer to the version of yourself who no longer waits to be seen, because they're too busy building something worth seeing. Closer to the version of yourself who commands attention, not with noise, but with presence. So no, don't beg for their time. Don't chase the recognition. Don't lose sleep over who's ignoring you. Use that energy, use that sting, channel it into something so magnetic that the same people who once dismissed you now have no choice but to take notice. Not because you became louder, but because you became undeniable. So let me ask you one last time. What will you do when someone ignores you? Will you break? Will you question your worth? Will you wait around for someone who already decided to turn their back on you? Or will you rise? Because this moment, the silence, the cold shoulder, the ghosting, the absence, it's not the end of you. No, it's the beginning of a version of you that doesn't need permission to shine. Look in the mirror. That person staring back at you, they've been waiting for you to stop shrinking, waiting for you to stop begging, waiting for you to stop playing small just to be accepted. And now, it's time. Time to remember who you are. You are not weak because someone ignored you. You are not broken because someone couldn't see your value. You are not lost just because you were left behind. You are powerful, you are rare, you are becoming. Every person who overlooked you, every friend who faded, every love who walked away, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers, they didn't break you, they built you. Even in their absence, they gave you something. They gave you space, and now it's your job to fill it with purpose. You've got two choices: stay in the corner of someone's indifference or step into the spotlight of your own transformation. People will come and go. Some will see you, others won't. That's life. But never ever let someone's inability to value you turn into your inability to value yourself. Let them ignore you, let them question you, let them doubt you. And while they're doing that, you work, you grind, you heal, you evolve. Because the best revenge is not anger, it's not bitterness, it's not proving them wrong with words, it's proving yourself right with results. Be the person who kept going when no one clapped. Be the person who stayed consistent when no one cared. Be the person who didn't need the crowd because your calling was louder. You think the great ones didn't face silence? You think the legends were always celebrated? No, they were doubted, mocked, ignored until they weren't, until their growth spoke louder than the rejection, until their presence echoed louder than the silence, until they became a force that couldn't be denied. Because they never gave up. That can be you. Not tomorrow, not when they finally text back, not when the world finally sees. Now, here, today turn the pain into power, turn the silence into strength, turn the rejection into results. Instead of asking why they don't see you, start asking, what can I build that makes me impossible to ignore? Because the truth is, you don't need everyone. You don't need constant validation. You don't need to be liked by the masses. You need one thing: to believe in yourself so fiercely that the world is forced to catch up. Let them walk, let them go quiet, let them disappear. You keep rising. Because they might have ignored you today, but they'll remember you tomorrow. And not because you shouted for their attention, but because you built something so real, so solid, so breathtaking that even the ones who looked away had no choice but to look again. This is your moment. This is your fire. This is your comeback. And guess what? You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to prove yourself to people who were never meant to stay. You just need to stay true to your path. Because if they couldn't see your light back then, that's fine. You'll shine so bright now, they'll need shades just to watch you from afar. So rise, stand tall, walk forward alone if you must, because you won't be alone forever. But even if you are, even if no one claps, even if no one says your name, you will still become everything they said you couldn't be. And when they finally look back, it won't matter, because you won't be chasing anymore, you'll be leading.